timing for this is similar to an NTC. It's just your timing specs are a little bit different. In the other video I explained that this engine is actually timed to 362 thousandths, and we're going to time it to 352 thousandths. One of the things I like to do after I get a block back from the machine shop is I like to get all the plugs into the block. I got this plug here and a plug here, and the same thing on the very front, because if you forget these plugs in the back or on the front, you're going to have to pull the engine out or pull the transmission off, pull the flywheel housing off in order to be able to put those plugs in. Same thing on the front, you're going to have to pull the front cover off, pull the cam out. One of the plugs is actually hidden behind the cam gear. So you want to make sure you get those in first thing as soon as you get the block clean. One of the things we do with all of our push tubes, we call it the ding and roll test. We bring it out. As long as it has a nice bell-like sound like that, you know it's not filled up with oil and a bunch of dried up oil inside of it. The other thing we'll do then, roll on a bench, and it's hopefully you have a nice flat area. You can look to see if you have daylight underneath it. You know that this push tube is straight. We like to make sure all our push tubes are straight. Before you start your timing, one of the important things you want to make sure is, one, that you have your cam thrust behind your cam gear. There's going to be a brass side, and then there's going to be a silver side. You always put the brass side out towards the gear. It always goes towards the gear, so it will go forward in this circumstance. And before you start your timing, you want to make sure that your camshaft is pushed back tight to the cam thrust. I always like to start with the center cam follower for ease. I know out here on a stand, these are all just as easy to get to, but if this is in an engine, you're fighting behind a lube pump here and a starter here, and I like to get a nice starting point that I know what to go off of. I use a spray lithium grease. Coat my lugs on my camshaft. Then I need to wipe the excess off of the gasket surface. Take a lint-free rag, use some lacquer thinner, wipe off my gasket surface. Since we are changing the timing, today I'm going to start with a perma-seal gasket. As you can see, this orange around here is what they consider the perma-seal gasket. The perma-seal always is the first gasket to go on, and the perma-seal faces forward. This here is just a regular gasket. As you can see on either side, it does not have the perma-seal. You can add gaskets, you can layer gaskets. I try to only use 2 whenever I do that. But you can layer the gaskets, but for right now I'm just going to start out with a singular perma-seal gasket. I've wiped the gasket surface down on the cam follower, all the cam rollers, and I've checked to make sure I don't have a broken pin by wiggling the roller and pushing it, make sure the roll pin isn't broken by pushing it back and forth, make sure it doesn't move. I like to just leave the rollers down like this, and I'll kind of bring them this way. And they'll roll up in there real nice. Okay? Take my mirror and I'll look, make sure I can see the gasket before I put it on the whole way. This way I know that it's not that difficult whenever you have a thick gasket like this. But if you have some of the thinner gaskets, they will roll on you, and then you'll have a leak. After you get it on, I start the center bolt. Tap it onto the pins. Start on my bolts by hand first. threaded bolt. A lot of them, some of them will have the stud on the end for ground wires. Torquing anything, you want to torque it in a stars type pattern. I want to start in the middle. I start in the middle top, bottom, bottom, top, top, bottom. I'll start out with just tightening them up a little bit with a 3/8 air ratchet. Torque to 35 foot-pounds. Same thing. Nice star pattern. Top, bottom right, bottom left, top right, top left, center. Right. Nice and straight up and down, but not making contact with the head or the head gasket. Take your push tube, give it a little twist like this, watch your gauge, make sure it's not doing anything crazy as if your tube's bent. The first thing we want to make sure of before we even start doing our timing is that our timing mark on our crankshaft and on our camshaft are lined up properly. There'll be a 0 at the bottom of the V on the crankshaft gear, and then there'll be a 0 on the cam gear. You don't want to get that confused with the two lines that are over here for timing your accessory drive. That I like to mark those. I got that marked in yellow, this marked in blue. I also mark the back side of it so it's easier to see whenever you're bringing things around. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to show you how to determine whether you're on the right stroke of the engine. We're going to bring this up. All we're concerned about right now is piston travel. All right. 0 our gauge. On our piston. We're going to continue, and we were doing that in direction of rotation. We're going to continue on in direction of rotation. Now we're coming down, and before we get to the bottom of our travel, somewhere right around this area, this dial should stop moving and we'll know we're on a right stroke. Okay, see how I made it the whole way to the bottom of the travel list and the camshaft's still moving? That's telling me we're on the wrong stroke. We've got to come the whole way back around. Direction of rotation. Continue on in direction of rotation. Our piston is going to start coming back up. And I always like to double check my top dead center on my piston whenever I do this. Okay, we're all right. Now it's going to start going down the opposite direction. And as I said, if you'll notice, right around when this here plunger gets to about here, the dial on the camshaft will stop rotating. There, it stopped. Right around that area. I just continue on to the bottom. Now we want to 0 our gauge on our camshaft. The tricky thing on doing an N-14 is watching the dial on the camshaft, because the dial on the camshaft is going to turn multiple times. It's not going to just turn once. So we have to keep an eye on it while we're keep bringing this up to top dead center. So now we're going to go in opposite direction of rotation. All right. And you see the one on the cam started to move, and that's the other thing you have to pay attention to, is the direction that the needle is rotating. This needle is rotating counterclockwise, and on my gauge, I'm going to want to read the red numbers and not the black numbers, because that's the direction my gauge is going. It's going in this direction. Okay? So I've moved one rotation on the cam. 2 rotations on the cam, and I know I'm getting close to my top dead center over here, and there it is right there. I'm at top dead center on my piston. Now I need to go 2.5 revolutions, opposite direction of rotation, on the indicator on the piston, and I also need to pay attention to how many times the one on the camshaft is turned. I'm at 233 thousandths of travel on the cam right now. Okay, that's 3 revolutions on the cam, 1 on the piston, 2 on the pistons, 2.5. All right, that's 250 thousandths of travel on the piston. Now I need to bring the piston up to 340, which is 203 thousandths, and that's where you time your engine off of the piston and the camshaft. All right? There I am, 340, which is 203 thousandths, and over here on my camshaft, I am at 360 even. We need 352. So thicker gaskets equal less degrees of timing travel. So that thicker gasket will bring us down closer to the 352 we'd like to be at. All right, so we need a thicker gasket. So what I'm going to use now is I'm going to try a 42 thousandths permaseal, and then a 22 thousandths regular gasket. Now on a regular gasket, you want to make sure you get these holes lined up, or else the bolt won't go in there right and you rip the gasket. Okay? And this is where it can get a little bit trickier with getting the cam follower to go on, because you have multiple gaskets and they want to stick out. So you want to take your time and make sure you get that on there without ripping that gasket. Sometimes it's easier if you try to make these lobes so they're not sticking out and hanging you up and making it tight to get in there. So I'll rotate the crankshaft a little bit, actually the camshaft. So I find a spot where it's easier to get the cam follower to go in correctly. You can see the cam follower wants to grab these gaskets, and that's how they get ripped. Take my push tube that I had to remove, because we can't get the cam follower out without taking the push tube out. Make sure it's seated properly in your cam follower. Rotate the engine a little bit. Okay. Now, okay, for ease of demonstration, and so you can see the dial indicators a little better, we finished up on number 3. The next one we do is number 1, and we're trying to get you a little better vision of what the dial indicators are doing here. So the same thing, we made sure of which one we're on the correct stroke. Let's go ahead and rotate in direction of rotation until we can zero the indicator on top of the piston. Go ahead. We have no concern about the one on the camshaft at this point. Okay, go ahead, continue in direction of rotation. You can see that we already went ahead and zeroed out our dial indicator on the piston. What we want to go is about a quarter of a turn, and within a quarter of a turn of the crankshaft, this dial indicator should stop moving. Keep going. to this. Just keep going until it stops. Okay. Okay. So now we can zero our dial indicator on the camshaft, which we'd already done beforehand. All right. So now we're going to come back in opposite direction of rotation to top dead center on the piston. But as we're doing that, we need to pay attention to the direction of rotation of this needle and how many times this needle goes around. These are 100 thousandths for every revolution, both of these dial indicators. When I'm saying a full revolution in counting revolutions and telling you that's 2.5 revolutions, that's 250 thousandths. I just want to make sure that someone out there isn't using a dial indicator that one revolution is only 50 thousandths, because they do make dial indicators like that. So it's very important that you have the correct dial indicator. All right, go ahead and slowly go in opposite direction of rotation. Okay, see the direction that the one is moving on the camshaft. It is moving counterclockwise. We have 1 revolution on the camshaft, 2 revolutions on the camshaft, and we just hit top dead center on the piston. Now we're going to go 250 thousandths opposite direction of rotation on the piston, and that's 2.5 revolutions on this dial indicator. That's 3 over here. All right. The 250 thousandths is not critical. You don't. It's just so you're past far enough to take the gear lash out before you come back up to 203. So now we're going to want to go in the direction of rotation. And when I'm speaking of direction of rotation and opposite direction of rotation, we're rotating directly off of the crankshaft. Go ahead, bring it up to 3 before 0 is 203 thousandths before top dead center. And that is where that you get your timing numbers at. Okay? So here we are. We're at 203 thousandths before top dead center on the piston. And like I said, this dial indicator, what you got to remember is this needle was rotating this way. So right here where it says 90, you see the 10 beside it in red. Those are the numbers we are using because the dial indicator was rotating this way. So we are actually 2 past 50. So we're at 352 thousandths. All right, so we've timed number 3, we've timed number 1, and then the last one we timed is number 5. And I just want to show you that after you're done timing number 5, your marks on your accessory drive here will come basically up to where they need to be. This is for your accessory drive timing marks. All right, so the same thing, go in the direction of rotation, find our top dead center on our piston, which we'd already done. Okay, go in direction of rotation with the crankshaft, about another quarter turn past top dead center. Our dial indicator on our camshaft will stop moving. All right, then we go in opposite direction of rotation, counting how many turns we make on the camshaft and paying attention to when we hit top dead center on the piston. There's 100 thousandths on the camshaft, 200 thousandths on the camshaft, and usually right around that, you'll be close to top dead center. Now is where it gets tricky because we got to count them both. Now we're going in opposite direction of rotation. The piston's going down. We have 3 on our camshaft, 1 down on the piston. 200 thousandths down on the piston, 250 thousandths past top dead center, going back down opposite direction of rotation. Now we come up direction of rotation to 203, and we're at our 352 thousandths of travel we want. And as you can see right here, we're pretty much lined up for whenever we put our accessory drive on. So when we need to time our accessory drive, by the 2 notches on the gear here. I put the yellow lines on so I can see them from both sides. That's all we have today for the timing. I'm Brian from Pittsburgh Power. Thank you once again.